Welcome to the Field Quiver Outdoors podcast. I'm your host, Jody Thibodeau, and it's my goal to help you fill your quiver with God and the great outdoors. If you enjoy the content of the show and the YouTube channel, then there's three ways that I'd like to ask you to consider supporting myself in the show. The first is socially. And the way you can do that is if you're not already following the show on whatever streaming service you're listening to me on right now, make sure that you do that. And then go ahead and follow us on our other social media accounts, including our YouTube channel, Instagram, X, Facebook. Once you've done that, give us a good rating and review the show. That way it'll factor into the algorithms so that more people will be able to find the show and our other content. After you've done those couple of things, go ahead and let a friend know about the show who you think might be interested in the topics that we discuss. Now, as far as spiritually, you can support the show through prayer. And this is personally the most appreciated way of support. Pray for me and pray for the show. Pray that the show will open up opportunities for people to either establish a relationship with Christ or to grow in their relationships with Christ. The last way you can support the show is financially. You can go to fieldquiveroutdoors.com and buy some of the merchandise that's there on the website, on the web store, or you can make a donation. If you do one of the donation options, that goes directly to one of two things, either the show itself and the content that we put out, or the publication and dispersion of witnessing materials such as items related to the gospel fly and the devotional books, which, speaking of the devotional books, the first one, it's a 7-day. It is available for free download. They're on the website at fieldquiveroutdoors.com. That's pretty much it for how you can support the show. If you can think of another way, let me know. But those are the three main ways. Will help me justify to myself and my wife the time that I put into the show. Now, let's talk about what's on my radar. First up, I'm going to look at my notes here to make sure that I don't miss anything out. But first off, you'll notice here right above me, let's see if I can point in the right direction. Right in here, this camera is mirrored. Did not realize that it's mirrored. Right there. There we go. So you're only seeing this if you're on YouTube, but I'm trying to point at two flies that are on the shelf behind me. Those are Zud bubblers, which, if you remember the episode where I interviewed Matt Zudwig, these are flies of his design. Now, one was tied by him, one was tied by me. This is playing into what I mentioned in episode 203 of a new video series that I'm working on putting out on YouTube called Fly Lures. And this was supposed to be my first attempt at tying a Zud bubbler in the video, but due to it not recording correctly and me not catching it until after I'd already tied the first two attempts, you'll actually see me making my third attempt at tying a Zud bubbler. But that video has an expected release of next weekend. So make sure you're following, subscribe to, and have notifications turned on for the YouTube channel. It's going to be a funny video for you, I'm sure, especially if you know what you're doing with fly tying, watching me fumble around trying to do these different techniques and all that fun stuff, trying to tie my first Zud bubbler. But leading up to that, I will be posting pictures of the two flies that you see behind me. Again, it's mirrored. So right there. Of these two flies, one was tied by Matt, one was tied by myself. Which one do you think was tied by me, and which do you think was tied by Matt? That's going to be the question, and you'll be able to vote which you think was which. And then once the video comes out, you'll be able to know which was tied by a master and which was tied by a Joe. All right. Also, if you haven't already, go back and listen to episode 10 and you can get the backstory on the Zud Bubbler. Up next on my radar is the beanie hat. Yep, I'm in South Carolina. Right now, it is not cold enough for this beanie hat. We've had a couple of mornings over the last few weeks where it has been appropriate, but I've got this on just to show off the logo that the South Carolina State Parks used last year for their Dashing Through the Park scavenger hunt. Now, I'm going to pull this up. I was looking to see when they were going to do their Dashing Through the Parks again, and I ended up stumbling across another scavenger hunt that they have that is an ongoing scavenger hunt throughout the state parks. I don't know that you actually get anything for doing these, or if it's just something additional to do when you go to the different parks, but I did not count them out. But as you can see, there are quite a few objectives to try and complete in the South Carolina state parks. Now, as far as this goes with the hat specifically, the Dashing Through the Park scavenger hunt, let me just go ahead and skip ahead to that part of the video, maybe. There it goes. There's the end of that one. So up next, you'll see I'm going to the Dashing Through the Park scavenger hunt. This is last year's. They don't have the new ones yet. But if you download the Goose Chase app, you can still see all of the events from last year. And you can see in this video the grayed out items are what my family did last year. The ones that are still the dark, those are the ones that we did not do last year. But we did enough for myself and my wife and all the kids to get one of these beanies. And we got a few other cool little things. Got a cool notebook with the logo on it and a couple of other odds and ends. Not sure what the prize will be for hitting the different levels this year. But last year it started on Thanksgiving. I believe it was on Thanksgiving Day. Actually, it might have been the day before. But I know we got together with my extended family on Thanksgiving Day last year, and we were actually looking up to see what all we could accomplish on that day. Now I'm looking at my calendar now to see. Yeah, it was on Thanksgiving Day last year. So go ahead if you're in South Carolina and follow their social media accounts because they posted it on Instagram. I'll probably make a notation of it here on my social media accounts as well whenever they do release or announce that it's happening. If it's happening, hopefully it is. But that's it for On the Radar. This episode, I had the distinct pleasure of having a conversation with Brian Viole of the Caliber Coffee Company. Now, if you're not familiar with Caliber Coffee, they make coffee. They are found in smaller retail stores. Now, they are a sister company of Palmetto State Armory, which is probably why that's how I discovered Caliber Coffee, was when I was in a Palmetto State Armory a while back picking up some stuff. But Caliber Coffee, their COO, Brian, has a great faith adventure that he shares. He also tells us a little bit about the company, the story of the company, because he's been with them since pre-launch a few years ago. And if you're interested in trying some Caliber coffee, I definitely recommend it. This is actually the coffee that I've been buying lately, just because it's good, in my opinion. I like it. Check them out right now if you live in the area of South Carolina near one of the PSA stores. They have a deal going of buy two, get one free through the holidays. And now that you know where we're headed in this episode, let's go ahead and hit the trail. All right, Brian, I appreciate you being on the show with me today. And the way that I like to open up the shows with guests is to let the audience know what your claim to fame is.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for having me. this is an honor to have some kind of a platform and speak to a new group of people. I can't say I really have a claim to fame. I kind of want to give you a cliche answer as somebody who considers myself a man of faith, and my whole the reason for my existence and the way I want to live my life is to make the name of Jesus famous, and hopefully I make him proud and bring him glory. So when it comes to claim of fame, there's that. Out of college, I worked for the Atlanta Falcons. That was pretty cool. I'm actually a Carolina Panther fan, so it's kind of funny how that worked out. But no, that's something cool, a really unique opportunity I got to do. That was the first year of Mercedes-Benz Stadium being open, so pretty awesome times.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. And we won't bring up baseball. I know that's a sore subject with the World Series being over and the team that you pull for.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. No, it's all good. Born and raised in New York, and had to pick a team when I was pretty young at the age of 5 years old, and that was right around the time of the Yankees three-peat. Derek Jeter was my hero growing up, so that was a little tough, but no worries, man. Hey, there's Yankees fans have high expectations. It's World Series or bust, and we made it to the World Series. We just got to get it done. We got to get it done next year. So
I got you. Well, hopefully one of my teams will be up there to knock them out, but we'll see. So, but one of my boys is a Yankees fan. I don't really know where that came from. None of the rest of us are, but he was a Yankees fan until they started playing the Royals this year in the playoffs, and he found out that the Royals had won the World Series the year he was born. So that made him. He's not. So that made him change his stripes, if you will.
It seems like he just likes winners. I mean, I don't know.
I guess so. Yeah. But so we're not here to talk baseball, and I'm sure we could for another hour or more. But we're here to talk about coffee and faith, or the two things that we're going to be talking about in this episode. And Caliber Coffee is something that I discovered recently. It's a fairly young company, I think, if I'm remembering right.
Yep.
But it's what I have been buying here lately, ever since I discovered it and tried it. So I'm just going to go and throw this disclaimer out. I don't have you on here for the listeners. I'm not getting any kickbacks from this. If you know me personally, then I'm not going to promote something that I have no knowledge of, that I'm just trying to get kickback from. But I've actually got a couple of the 9mm right here beside me now. But so coffee is something that is very popular in the outdoor community and the community in general. But there's a lot of really cool things about Caliber Coffee, and I'm not going to steal your thunder on that. So let's go ahead and hear about Caliber Coffee, how it came to be, and what its stances are that makes it stand out from other coffee companies.
For sure, man. Yeah, that's appreciate you setting that up. So first off, Caliber Coffee has been around since 2014. It started off in Missouri, then someone in Florida acquired it, and then we acquired it 2 years ago. So fresh with this company, with JJE Capital Holdings. We acquired it in 2022, launched Veterans Day 2022. So we're just about to be 2 years old here, coming up in a couple of days. So very, very new company. We've done really well the first 2 years. We're really encouraged about our progress, and we've gotten into the firearm space thanks to our sister company, Palmetto State Armory. That was a huge benefit to us as we launched. And here moving forward, 2024 is a huge year for us to get into distribution as well. So we've got a whole bunch of different major accounts that we have set up, and it's just a matter of time before you start seeing us in some bigger stores. We're not going to go in the big box stores like Walmart or Target or anything like that, grocery as of right now. But there's some stores that are on the docket that people can go to in their local communities and get Caliber Coffee here pretty soon. So that's exciting, encouraging. As far as setting us apart, just the quality of our coffee is superior compared to the market that we're in. We didn't settle for just basic, mass produced roasted coffee. We hired a roaster, and we have a roaster on our team that we're very, very excited and encouraged for, our new customers to try, because it's quality, it's specialty grade. There's something in like the wine community with they're aficionados at what they do. They know wine, they know the tastings, they know the pairings, and there's something very similar in the coffee community too. That basically these people go around and they try different coffees and they rate them on a scale, and anything over an 80 on that scale, 0 to 100, anything over an 80 is considered specialty grade coffee. So our coffee is specialty grade coffee. You're buying the best stuff. Or you're buying beans from the highland regions of Brazil, Colombia, and other South American countries. Like we don't skimp on our costs. We just create the best possible roasted beans that we can, and we bring it to our customers at a value. That's the PSA mantra. That's the JJE Capital mantra. We're buying and sourcing premium products, and we're giving it to customers that they can enjoy at an affordable price. And as you know, Jody, like, man, you can go to the grocery store, you can go to get some specialty grade coffee online somewhere, and you can spend $25, $30, $35 per bag, man. And we do deals all the time. You can get us at an affordable price, and it's good stuff. It's just good stuff to get you going. So Caliber Coffee, where it's not just about the coffee. If the coffee was bad, then what are we doing here in the first place? So that's why I like to lead with coffee. But we're all about supporting the military, whether it be active duty or veterans. In the first year, we gave almost 4 tons of coffee to veterans. And then you add on top of that what we've given to local police and fire departments, local first responders. It well exceeds 4 tons in the first year that we were in existence, and we just continue to give. So that's a big mission of ours. It's our Joe to It Joe program. It's on every single one of our products here, man. Joe to It Joe. It's our mission. We give a proceed back to military and first responders. Another thing is we are all about the freedoms of Americans and upholding those freedoms as much as we can. So when it comes to the First and Second Amendment, we actually fund some of those amicus briefs in partnership with Palmetto State Armory. Proceeds that come directly from the sales of Caliber Coffee go right into that because we truly believe in protecting our freedoms as Americans, and we want to give back to our customers in that way. The final thing I want to mention is all of the proceeds that don't go towards giving back goes right back into manufacturing guns and ammunition. It's what we do. Yeah, through Palmetto State Armory, through AAC Ammunition Company, through all of our sister companies here at JJE Capital. All that money goes right back into that. So we're all about fueling freedom. It's not just a tagline for us. As you can see here, I love that you brought up faith. I know we've already brought it up once on the pod, but it's one of our big pillars. Our first one: faith, family, freedom. It's what we're all about, and we like to let our actions speak, not just our words.
Right. Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, that catch line, the faith, family, freedom, that was what initially drew me to you guys. And I saw the coffee when I was in Palmetto State here in Greenville. I saw the coffee, and then I saw the catchphrase, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna give it a try. And because it was the price point, it was not obnoxious by any means. It was reasonable, not your run of the mill stuff, mass produced coffee. And so I bought a couple bags, and I was just blown away at the taste. But then the faith thing, I remember seeing, I think it's still on the Instagram page. I think it might actually be pinned. You guys were doing an interview, and just that emphasis of always the faith and family. And that really meant a lot to me. It's like, okay, yeah, I can definitely get behind supporting a company like that, especially when it's a good product to boot. But one of the things that you mentioned that I'm just going to kind of piggyback off of for just a second is talking about the promotions. And this will air in about a week and a couple of days from us recording it. And we're just kicking off the holiday season. Yep. And I was actually in Palmetto State Armory yesterday, restocking on my coffee, and they were kind of low, but I was able to get some enough to last me for at least a week or two till I can get back up there. But for anybody in South Carolina that's close to one of the PSA stores, they've got a deal through the holiday season right now on the Caliber coffee. I think it was buy two, get one. And then you guys have a deal on the website. It seems like you've always got something good going on. And I know through the end of November, again, if you're listening to this 3-4 years down the road, sorry you missed out. But November 2024, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but any purchase through the website gets that customer who is 21 or older entered into a drawing for a gun, right?
Yep. Void where prohibited.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So each Caliber item you buy is actually an entry.
Okay. Yeah. So it's not just each transaction, it's each item in the cart.
Yeah. So it's a pretty cool thing we've done. We've got to do a couple different times, again, with partnership of and with the access we have within our company with AAC Ammunition and with Palmetto State Armory. We get to do some pretty cool stuff. So we've given away a year's supply of ammunition before in a similar fashion. We've given away a Jackal, 308 Jackal, and now we're giving away a 300 Blackout Crank. So it's the newest, hottest gun in the market that Palmetto State Armory just released. So they've given us some. They were gracious enough to give us one of those to be able to give away and make somebody's holiday season that much more special. In addition to that, we're also coming out with our second annual holiday roast. So that should be live here in the next couple of weeks. And then that was a huge win last year. It sold out like crazy. We had to order another batch, but again, that was a really, really good roast that everyone got excited about, and everyone keeps asking me, texting me, emailing me, hey, when's that stuff coming back out? Because we want to make sure we get we want to make sure we get our pantry stocked before the holiday season. So
I got you.
That's another pretty cool thing we got coming out.
Cool. Yeah, because I was actually going to ask you about that if y'all were doing that again this year, but didn't even have to ask to get it answered.
Yep.
Now, speaking of roast, on the topic of roast, you guys do the roast as far as the intensity of roast, if you will, based on ammunition calibers.
Correct. So
go ahead and explain that.
The heavier the ammunition, the darker the roast.
Okay.
So our 22 caliber is our light roast, all the way to our 300 blackouts are our dark roast.
Okay.
Yep.
And then the decaf is called, what was it called? It's called Subsonic. That's right.
Yeah.
And then something else that's kind of cool about you guys is I've noticed that, and I didn't pick up on it until yesterday, but the K-Cups, the Keurig, the little individual ones, y'all call those shells, right?
Yep. Shells, yeah.
Yep. So that's kind of cool. Yeah.
So we've got them in K-Cups. So those are our shells. We got whole bean. We've got ground coffee. We also just released last month. We were on Fox News. We got to release our cold brew coffee, and it sold like crazy. So we're on the line to get that produced again. But man, it sold out so fast. Our customer base is just fantastic, man. Like everything we come out with, they want to try. They want to get to their hands on, and we just have a awesome, loyal customer base, and couldn't be more pleased with them and appreciative.
All right. And now one other thing, since you bring it up with the cold brew cans, that is something that I know it shows on your website is currently sold out, but that's something that folks can order from you, or is that somewhere they need to live somewhere where they can go and pick it up?
No, it's direct to consumer online. Might take us a while to get them back in, just because the response has been crazy. So
I got you.
2025 again, just early 2025. Be on the lookout.
Okay, and those are called. Everything else is related to some sort of munition. What's this?
Yeah, those are our 40 millimeter, 40 Mike grenades. So they're actually shit. I actually got one right here. Just bear with me one second.
All right.
They're actually shaped like a 40 millimeter grenade.
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the design we went for, and the response has been awesome, man. So
okay. Now, is that just a plain straight up black coffee cold brew, or they come in flavors?
We've got a couple different ones. We've got straight up black, and we've got an oat milk latte. That's what we released with, and then we've also got a couple more in the works.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to definitely be on the lookout for that. And I know that I saw it on your website. I just haven't done it yet. I probably will when I'm getting close to running out this next time. But you guys have a subscription option, right?
Yep.
Explain how that works.
Yeah. So you could subscribe on our website for 10% off whatever your purchase is. And you'd get coffee shipped to your door every single month. Don't have to worry about it. Don't have to think about it. You can set your custom options. So you can do it every 3 months. If you want to bundle up and do every 3 months, or if you just like enjoying coffee on the weekends. I know I have a lot of customers like that. Sometimes I do the 3-month option. Now I've got my crazy coffee drinkers that I love, that drink, 4 cups a day. And those, those people, some of them order seriously 8 bags a month. And that way you get to save at least 10% on that. And, you could throw your bundles on there to save even more. We also have a really cool option. If you want to try that option and, maybe just make that a part of your every month routine, you could do that for 30% off using code coffee for the first month. It'll give you 30% off, and then 10 every month after that. So if you want to try it, be my guest, use code coffee.
All right, cool. Yeah, we'll definitely do that when I subscribe. I'm one of those crazy coffee drinkers, but about all I drink is coffee and water and the occasional energy drink. But
yeah, sounds like you were former law enforcement.
Yeah, 10 years, and then 5 young kids now. So
that makes sense,
caffeinated.
That makes sense, man. 5, that's crazy. I'm drowning with 3.
Love them.
You're my whole world, but man, it's tough. 3 under 5.
Oh wow. Yeah. Yep. So I think we had. Let's see. I'm trying to remember.
This man has so many kids that he forgot.
Yeah, I forgot. No, because I'm trying to remember if it was 5 and under, or if the oldest ones. Nope, I think they turned 6. I don't know. I'm not going to do the math right now. But at one point, when our youngest was born, she was born during COVID stuff, and our oldest were twins, and I think they are 5 years apart. So at one point we had five or under. So it was wild there for a little while.
Yeah, but so coffee was like your lifeline. You just had to have it.
Yeah.
You weren't sleeping, so you might as well stay energized somehow, right?
Yeah, I know, right? But it's like you say, wouldn't trade it for anything. One of the best things, and even if it does come at the cost of sleep deprivation. But now, one of the things that I'm trying to do with this show is we've talked about the company, and one of the areas that I want to put more of an emphasis on, because this is what I really wanted this show to be about from the get-go, is educational teaching. And we can do that. It's cool learning about the coffee and all. I love learning. It doesn't matter what it is. I just love learning. And one of the reasons I want to start the show is to share what I'm learning in this process of learning more about outdoors, because I didn't grow up doing this stuff, but I've always had an interest in it. And my kids now are showing an interest as well. So I'm trying to learn both for my sake and so that I can teach them.
Yep.
And I want to kind of share what I'm learning on the show with the audience that might not know or be comfortable asking the questions to learn to get into the different topics themselves. But as far as making coffee, campsite coffee, how would you go about making the best cup of campfire coffee?
There's a couple different ways, and I think the easiest way, because all you need is this device or making mechanism, hot water, and the coffee. It would be your French press. So I've got one here to show you. Is all you need. Hot water, pour the grounds in, let it steep, press it down. You've got yourself some easy quality coffee. Now there's another way. There's a few different ways. If you want to get all about it, if you got time on your hands and you're just sitting out there for the weekend, you can hand grind it, and you could heat up the water over the fire and do a pour over. There's also this really interesting little thing that I was pitched recently. We're actually, full disclosure, we're trying to do we're thinking about doing a branded one. You just replace a Yeti top. You put this on there. You put the coffee filter in, put your grounds in, pour the hot water over, and you've got yourself a cup of coffee in your Yeti. So that's pretty interesting. So we'll see if we're gonna do that. But there's things like that popping up everywhere. There's a lot of different ways that companies are being using some ingenuity, and your coffee on the go scene is just exploding.
I got you. Yeah, that's what I've got that I normally use when I have enough time to not pop something in the Keurig. Then usually the Keurig's when I'm in a rush, but the rest of the time I'll normally do the pour. I've got one of the glass pour overs, one of the knockoff versions of the Chemex.
Yep.
And that's when I have plenty of time. But when I'm a little bit more rushed, I'll usually go with the French press if I'm wanting more than just one cup at a time.
Yep.
But so there we go. There you have it. If you're out camping this weekend and you're looking for how to make that perfect cup, the easiest way, French press all day.
Go. Telling you.
Brian, I'm going to put you on the spot here for a second. And this is the drop in the bucket segment, because folks that listen and folks that know me know I'm all about a bucket list. Don't know why, but I just think it's I just enjoy having a challenge or something to work towards. And as far as outdoor bucket list goes, what's something that you've either already accomplished or something that you think would be cool to accomplish that you would suggest the listeners consider putting on their outdoor bucket list?
Well, man, it wasn't an accomplishment, but when I was growing up, I had an aunt and an uncle that lived in Florida, and I was fortunate, or they were fortunate enough to have a fish shack. So it was on the Gulf of Mexico. So you had to boat to it. There's no way to get to it except for boating to it. You dock your boat, you park it there, and basically all it was like a cabin built on these big stilts. And we slept on it. We'd usually bring, I have a lot of family, so we'd have my brothers, my dad, my grandpa, my uncle, and we'd all shack up in there, literally like just sitting in, packing up like sardines in this little tiny bunk bed room. All of them are snoring. You don't get any sleep. So I was fortunate enough to go out there a couple times. It was awesome. It had a fully functional stove, and we kept everything in coolers. It doesn't have a bathroom, so you do all your business in a bucket and dump it out and clean it out. But literally, we just would spend multiple days out there just fishing, fishing. Awesome. Filleting the fish, cooking it up right there. Dude, you don't have service out there. This was even before I had a phone or anything. But could you imagine, nowadays just not having service, being disconnected from the world, and just, hearing stories from your grandfather, hearing stories from your uncle who was a commercial fisherman, hearing, seeing the side of my dad and my brothers that, you don't really get to see a lot, and just spending quality time, man. So if you know anyone or ever get the chance to just go to a fish shack in the middle of the ocean or middle of a body of water, and just, I really encourage you to just disconnect and reconnect with people and rekindle with people, because that's what we're put on this earth to do, man, is to pour into each other and listen to each other and love each other. So
yeah, that's awesome. And I know I actually just saw an article in a magazine a few months ago with cabins very similar to what you just described, that I guess they're in the state park service down there in the Everglades, and you can canoe or kayak to them. It's the only way to access them.
it's pretty cool.
But yeah, it sounds similar. So that might be an option for the folks that don't have the family connections.
Go ahead and do it. Just check the weather before. I'd hate for you to get stuck in a storm out there. And that would be kind of sketchy. It's kind of sketchy as it is, but
yeah,
in a storm, I couldn't imagine that.
Oh man.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll wait till hurricane season is completely over, and then do it.
Then knock it out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the drop in the bucket. You heard it. Put it on your list if you want to. If not, come up with something else. But don't stop adding and don't stop completing.
Can I get an encore?
Go ahead,
dude. If you ever get a chance to see the Grand Tetons, go do it, man. Go do it. We had a little nature walk through the Grand Tetons. My family and I got to do it. My wife's family, and it was back in, I think it was like 2011, 2012. I mean, so think about the technology back then as far as a phone camera. I'm telling you right now, it's still some of the prettiest pictures I ever took. Like some of the best, just the only way I could describe it is it looks like you're on like literally living in a computer screensaver. How beautiful it is out there. So the Grand Tetons is special. It's a great place. Great place to go. That whole area of the country, man.
Okay. And I'm actually going to use that to segue into this next segment, which is the Me Too segment. And this is for the audience to be able to say Me Too if they have the same thoughts, same stances as you on these different questions. It's just to help them connect with you and see how, if any, similarities they have with you.
That's cool.
And the first question is, I'm going to switch them around a little bit out of order, but you've already answered one destination, one outdoor nature creation destination that you've been to that you think everybody should go. But now what's one that you have not been to that you would like to go see and experience?
That's a good question, man. I always consider myself like fascinated with the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's, some things going on with just some natural processes taking place, but I think the Great Barrier Reef would be awesome, man. Just seeing all the stuff God's created down there, man. And it's crazy. I know it's pretty cliche, but apparently there's more that we haven't discovered about the depths of our ocean than, our solar system.
Yeah.
Something like that, which is unreal. So the Great Barrier Reef would be cool to see, and I'm just fascinated about that kind of stuff.
Okay, cool.
I wouldn't want to dive though. That's a little much for me. I don't know if that's the way I want to go out. Is drowning. I don't know about that.
That's what I was going to ask, was if you dive.
No, but more power. I have so much respect for divers, man. So much respect for them.
I got you. Well, the next question is, we're speaking of God, what is your favorite Bible story?
Yeah, man. So there's a lot to choose from. I like Joseph, just the way he was treated, and just there's the resilience of him and how God was with him every step of the way. And, I think it's a story that people can resonate with, because we all deal with hardships in many different shapes and fashions. And Joseph, obviously had some pretty rough ones with some betrayals in his own family. So yeah, I mean, that's it's just crazy. He did that, and then he was able to be appointed, and he was able to have the power to be very high up in that time period, and God gave him the ability to do many different things with interpreting dreams and serving the land at the time, and being Pharaoh's right-hand man, if I remember correctly. So just crazy what he was able to go through, and then just being able to be resilient enough to fight it. Something I've been studying recently is Daniel. And Daniel, Daniel's awesome. Everyone's heard of the Lion's Den, obviously. But one thing that I took from Daniel recently when I was doing some studies is we always see Nebuchadnezzar as this like harsh ruler, which he was. Don't get me wrong. And there's so much we can take from Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, just the faith they had and the miracles that happened with the angel that showed up in the fire with them. But something interesting about that was relatable to humans with Nebuchadnezzar is I don't think we should ever give up on another human, regardless of how far they may have strayed from God. What I'd never realized is Nebuchadnezzar, despite all that, towards the end of his life, believed in God. Like he came to know him, which is crazy to think about. So that's just something I've been studying recently, and God's revealed to me. So that was pretty cool.
You picked two numbers between 1 and 15 for your last two questions. The first one is, what is an outdoor related skill or knowledge that you think everyone should have?
Oh, that's a good one. That's a really good one. I think everyone should learn how to fish, not only because it's super fun. It's just, it's also a great source of, food. If stuff were to happen, or if, for whatever reason, the grocery supply chain got cut short. I mean, if everyone knew how to fish, I think there's enough out there to feed a whole lot of people. So it's a very useful tool. And it's something that God's given us that is super, fulfilling, and it teaches us patience, teaches us a whole bunch of different good attributes. So I'm glad I grew up fishing. I got to do it, being in Long Island. I got to go on, I was surrounded by water, and some of my favorite memories growing up was going on charter boats and going out there and catching flounder, and just getting to go hang out with my brother and my dad. And so that was a really cool thing growing up. And so I think everyone should know how to fish, not just for the practicality of it and food, but just because it's fun. It's something you can do with your kids, do with your family, and just have a good time.
Yeah. And it's not even that expensive either. It can be as cheap or as expensive as you want it to be.
Exactly, man. Exactly. And the way I do things, like my wife will tell you, if I get really obsessed with something, I get into it and I start spending too much money, and then she's like, I got to cut you off, and it's on to the next thing. So,
well, at least I'm not the only one like that.
Yeah.
I get cut off all the time.
Yeah.
But
gotta respect them though. They're just trying to do its best.
Oh yeah. So the last question for you before we move into the last part of the show, where we're going to get into the most important topic, which folks that have listened in the past will probably know where I'm headed with that. But what is one outdoor activity, and you might have actually already answered this one. What is an outdoor activity that you have absolutely no interest whatsoever in ever participating in?
Outdoor activity I don't care about. That's a difficult question too, Jody. I hate to be like this, but the reason being is I'm the type of person who's usually down to at least try something. I don't know, man. Probably diving. Yeah, like you said. Yeah. Diving. I've seen some of those crazy documentaries where people do it without oxygen tanks. Just scares the life out of me, man.
Yeah.
Or what's the one? The climbing without any cables.
Oh, yeah.
Free solo.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff, man. That super extreme adrenaline rush chasing kind of stuff. I'm good on all that. Like I could barely even watch it. So participating in it, I'm good. I'm good, man.
I got you.
I don't want to go out that way. I respect it. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I love life too much.
Yeah, I don't blame you for that, but I appreciate you playing along with me. And so now we'll go ahead and get into we've talked about stuff that's cool and fun and interesting, but this next topic is what really matters, and that is relationship with Christ.
Yep.
So go ahead, and I know you said you're real amped, excited about sharing your testimony. So the stage is yours.
Sure thing, and hopefully it resonates with somebody out there, because it's always good to tell your story, because you never know what anyone else is going through, and you never know if it, you could help somebody else through it. So that being said, I grew up in New York, as I talked about a couple of different times, and my family went to church on, we called ourselves Creasters growing up. So, Christmas and Easter. And, there's other times we went to church as well, but, it was very infrequent and kind of inconsistent. And so, yeah, church for me was just something you're supposed to do because, it had good values, whatever. My parents put me in a Christian school growing up from a very early age, and I played sports in the church programs and all that. Never really had a personal relationship with God. Just knew God, and church and all that was just a good thing to do, right? So fast forward, I moved to Charlotte when I was in 3rd grade, so I was young. No, it was actually 4th grade. And my parents put me in a Christian school, and more of the same. I went from going to a Lutheran church and school to a Baptist church and school, which is very, very different. Obviously they're both churches. They both believe in the same God, but it's just interpreted and presented in a huge different way. And so, again, never really had a personal relationship with God. And, I learned about creationism in school, which is good. And that's just the ideology I had, but just because that's what I learned in school. But it wasn't until later on in life, after going through my own experiences, I had a kind of a rough time in high school, just wrestling a whole bunch of different stuff with peer pressure and getting into alcohol, drugs, and all that. And, just experimenting with it, nothing too crazy, but ended up dropping out of high school sophomore year. And then I worked after that. I worked at a pizza restaurant in Charlotte, and I grew up, I didn't mind it. I loved making money. It would just, I just thought school wasn't for me. And so, long story short, in that environment, in that restaurant environment, you get into partying, you get into drugs, you get into alcohol, and I didn't feel myself, right? I just felt like I was being somebody I didn't want to be. And I felt this void. And I had a girlfriend at the time who had moved to Atlanta. And I kind of felt depressed, for lack of a better word. And I couldn't understand why. I just felt this void. And my wife's family, who's been instrumental in my faith, and I just have so much respect for, they moved again to Atlanta, and this was the same girl at the time who I dated. And so they, as far as my, what I know about God and seeing people with a true relationship with God, it comes from her family. And so that was pretty cool. So she graduated high school in Georgia and went to Liberty University. And so I actually followed her up to Liberty University, and go Flames, love it up there. So I decided with I didn't have really a personal relationship with God at all. My view of Christianity was kind of skewed because I saw these two really opposite views of the way people interpreted God, but I never really saw the love of Christ through people growing up. But I still ended up choosing Liberty University, which is kind of crazy to think about. And that was instrumental in my relationship with Christ. I remember being there, and I skipped a huge part of the story because someone who dropped out of high school, I worked my tail off to get my GED, and I went to 2 years of community college. I was able to transfer to Liberty University to meet my girlfriend there at the time, who ended up being my wife now. And yeah, Liberty University was awesome for me, man. It was I really saw like, a Christ, I learned what a Christian worldview was, and just seeing the world from a different perspective. And I also ended up going to church more consistently, and like realizing what a personal relationship with God actually meant. And, long story short, man, there was a message one time at the community church my wife and I went to, and it was talking about being a future spouse with somebody, and, the qualities of that you should have as a spouse, and putting yourself down, and, talking about the fruits of the Spirit and just certain attributes you should have as a husband. And I realized I fell short in like every single thing that the pastor was talking about. I was like, man, like that's not who I am, but that's who I want to be, for my future wife who's sitting right next to me. And I got super, super convicted. And I went back to the apartment that day, and no one else was there. And I just I felt that conviction so heavy on my heart. And I opened scripture, and Christ revealed a lot of things to me through scripture. And that it was at that moment where that void I was feeling was like something rushed in, and now I know, like, to me it was the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit filled my heart in that moment, because I surrendered myself to God, and I got saved, and I said, Lord, just take over my life. I surrender, everything's yours. And yeah, so ever since, like I called up the church, I was like, I want to be baptized. And I got to actually tell my story on stage during baptism. I was so nervous. As you can tell, I'm not the best like public speaker, but I was able to tell my story up in front of the church. There's hundreds of people there, and I got to tell my story in front of my family, and they all started crying. I barely ever seen my dad cry, and he was crying. So that was a special moment. But yeah, man. So God changed my heart at Liberty University. Through my wife's family, that a lot of my seed had that personal relationship that I desired. I desired that with God, but I never really knew what it meant. And it's really just a surrender, and a desire, that to me it's just that lost kid coming home type thing. And that's just how I felt. Like I was just this lost kid that didn't really have much going or planned, but I worked really hard, and I tried to do a lot of things to be a good person. But it wasn't until I really surrendered myself to Christ till I felt that fulfillment to the void that I was feeling. And to this day, however many years later, it's always nice thinking back to that moment and how I was in the past, because I see God's hand throughout my whole life. And I'm not saying it's gotten easier since I've been saved, or since God's come into my life, but now I have something to stand on. Now I know when I go through those moments of doubt, and those moments of fear and struggle and anxiety, and even in business, like what if this doesn't work out? Well, guess what? I have God as my rock to stand on. And it's cool. My wife and I were talking about it. My little 3-year-old, he has these he sings songs. Like he loves music. And during a rough time in our lives a couple years ago, it was when a song came out. It was what song was it? Are you familiar with Christian music?
Yeah.
What was the one with Brandon Lake? Gratitude.
Okay.
Yeah. So Gratitude had just came out, and it was like, I'd always hear him singing it, and I was like, dang, that's what I need to hear in this moment of my life, in this stage of my life. And then recently, we've been going through some things at the house, and just like everyone goes through, right? And some moments of doubt and fear, and what's going to happen if this doesn't come through, or just praying for things. And his song right now is Firm Foundation, and it makes me think like that's who I need to stand on. It's like, go back to the firm foundation, who is Christ. He's the rock. He's, if you set if you build your house on a rock, you're much more likely that house is going to stand than building it on, sand or anything like that. So putting Christ as my firm foundation right now in my life, it's been much more peaceful. And, they talks about a peace that is beyond all understanding. That's what I feel right now, man. It's like, and that's through my little son that he's speaking through these songs. And I think it's pretty special.
Yeah. I appreciate you sharing all that. And,
yeah.
That like you said, hopefully it'll be a good impact for somebody that's listening.
Yep.
And help them with what direction they might be trying to figure out which way to go. It'll help guide them.
Yeah. But just know, I mean, don't ever sell yourself short. Like I thought I was a failure because I couldn't graduate high school, but Lord was gracious enough for me to get opportunities to, work hard and get my GED. And I'm not saying you're not going to have to put in work, because when I was in college, the way I got through school, I was an overnight janitor. I worked the graveyard shift, 10 to 7. I cleaned the student dining hall and the bathrooms and the nursery. Like it wasn't easy, and that was a full-time job on top of being a full-time student. Liberty had an awesome program at the time where they would pay for your tuition if you were a full-time employee. So I took advantage of it. It was work that I had to put in, but the Lord granted that opportunity, but he also expected me to be able to put in the work. And so whatever you're going through, you don't have to, it might not seem reasonable to get that you're going to get through it in the moment, but if you rely on God, he's going to give you opportunities to be able to get out of it, or at least be there with you in that moment. So it's not one of those things where following Christ is even easier. I would argue, Jody, that it's harder to follow Christ, but it's way more fulfilling. And whatever void you feel in your life, he's going to fill that void.
Before I let you go, something that I ask my guests when I remember, and I've actually got it taped on the wall so that I'll stop forgetting to ask. But since we're already on a note of faith, and I believe very firmly in prayer, what is a way that I and the audience can pray for you?
Oh man, that's awesome, man. Well, man, I will never turn down prayer, because prayer is our direct line to God, and he was gracious enough to give it to us. And I don't think none of us do it enough. So it's much appreciated you asking. Pray for the business, man. Pray that business does well. We're still young. We're doing good. We're really hoping to lock down some of these contracts here with some pretty major, brands and stores that you guys have heard of. So just pray that that stuff comes through, and ultimately pray that we can bring you glory through it all, and that we keep the main thing. Bring God glory, and just use us in a way that is pleasing to him.
All right. Well, I'll definitely do it, and I know most of the listeners will also do it.
Love to hear it.
On that note, again, thank you for your time today. I've enjoyed it. Until next time, pray for Brian. Go out and get you a bag of Caliber coffee.
Yes, sir.
And may you have tight lines, steady aim, and smooth trails. We'll see you next time.
Love to hear it. Thanks, guys.